Well, Elkhart County Living Magazine is certainly the magazine you'll want to pick up at the newsstands, and I've got a copy of it right here. This is the edition from July and August, and with me is Marla Miller and also Steve Harris from the TG School of Music, who will be featured in the magazine. But first I want to talk to Marla. Marla, Steve had an interesting piece in there about the blues, and we're going to talk to Steve in just a little bit. But, boy, your magazine covers it all, from food, entertaining, design, and a lot of wellness in there, too.
Yes, what we want the magazine to do is when it hits the household, we want everyone in that household to have something of interest to read. And what we're finding out from our readers, that's exactly what's happening. They're all reading everything from cover to cover.
Don't you find, too, that when a magazine is delivered to a home, and like you say, others in the home begin to read it, and sometimes it gets even a little more life, doesn't it? As maybe it's passed on to relatives and neighbors and friends. It becomes something that has a life of its own, I would imagine.
It does, and I've run into a lot of people who have said, oh, so-and-so handed me a copy of your magazine, and I read it, and now I'm getting a subscription. We recently were at the Elkhart County Fair with a booth, and we had several people come up and ask, when's the next one coming out? I know someone who's going to be in it, or I want to see the next one. So it's really taken on in this area, and we're very pleased with that. And it's not too late for anyone to get a subscription to the magazine.
Very good. Marla, we'll chat with you in just a little bit as well. I should say this is the June-July issue, and the August-September issue is available now in the newsstands. But in this issue is Mr. Steve Harris, who joins us now. Steve, how are you?
Doing fine, thanks, Craig.
Good to see you. Steve of the TG School of Music and the local group Blues Incorporated. Steve, you do a lot of teaching of music in this facility here, and behind us are some guitars. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. What began your love for music, and in particular blues?
Well, I'm from a musical family. My mother was a piano teacher. Her mother was a piano teacher, so it kind of is in my genetic makeup to be attracted to music. I think the thing that brought me to the blues was the feel that's associated with the blues. It's like one of my favorite phrases is I love jazz music, but it's too much head. Yeah. The blues is all about heart and soul. It's like old Harv says, if you can't dig the blues, you got a hole in your soul.
Well, you have the background, and you have it in your head because you did have some schooling, Berkeley School of Music, and so you have that kind of experience to help others. The blues is where you really motivate yourself to spend probably more time at, isn't it? Yeah,
blues is really my first love. I was introduced, like so many other guitarists in America, by the British invasion of the late 60s, Cream, John Mayall. The Rolling Stones basically started out as a blues band doing American songs by American blues artists, and then brought them back overseas, and the rest is history. As far as that was the beginning of the 60s rock and roll revolution that happened.
Your Blues Incorporated band, tell us about that.
Well, that's a quartet that I've had for about 10 years now. I've been through several different manifestations with different players. We've got Dan DeGooch on drums, Eric Atkins on saxophone, and we've just been lucky enough to pick up one of the world's great bass players, Johnny B. Gaden, who is just got an incredible resume. He was 15 years with Albert Collins and the Icebreakers, has played on Grammy Award-winning material, and it's just been an answer to one of my dreams, was to get to play with one of the great blues bass players in the history of the music. So we're just real fortunate. And we play a lot around the area. We're all married and settled down, so we don't like to do a lot of traveling, but we'll, go the right distance for the right dollars.
And the music, I mean, it's fun and interesting to listen to, and at times the level gets a little high, but you have a T-shirt that kind of addresses that, don't you? What's that T-shirt say?
Well, that says, if it's too loud, you're too old. And, it's kind of that way. It just always seems, every gig that we play at where there is a wide range of audience, it seems like the oldest people always sit closest to the speakers. So I try to wear that T-shirt when I know that it's going to be put to good use.
The local tie outside of the band and outside of the TG School of Music here, one of the local ties to the story featured in the magazine Elkhart County Living is the guitars that you have up here. And one of them, built right here locally, a Perry Gurman guitar. Tell us about that one.
Well, I'd like to show it to you.
Sure, yeah.
This is one of his earlier models, and it's basically a mahogany body. It's based on what they would consider a Gibson or a Les Paul design, in that it's got humbucking pickups, and it's a what they call a set neck. If you look at the back here, the neck is actually glued into the body, whereas other style guitars have what they call a bolt-on neck, where they screw it into there. But this is one of the prettiest guitars I've ever seen.
It is neat.
Especially if you can look down the edge, you can see the pearl inlays and the binding and everything. It's just beautiful, and it sounds as good as it looks.
Well, I'm almost tempted to have you play something on it, but of course that wouldn't be possible, I don't think, probably putting you on the spot like that. But, well, maybe. But are there others that have this guitar?
There are a couple of guys around that are playing these. Mostly he's a one-man operation. These are made of all American materials. There's not one foreign piece of material on here. So he's really gone a long ways into keeping things relatively local. I mean, he buys all his woods from the United States, and yeah. And this is, like I said, this is one of his earlier models. He's got, probably a half a dozen based on this particular design, but all sorts of different pickup configurations, neck widths. I mean, it's pretty much like having a custom guitar made.
Well, Steve Harris is the man with the blues, and this is the Perry Gurman guitar you'll see here at the TG School of Music. And Steve, if folks are watching and if they want maybe some more information about what you do here at the TG School of Music, how can they get in touch with you?
We have a phone number. It's 536-3796. That will get you in touch with the TG School, or you can stop in at the TG Music Store downstairs, and they'll send you up here.
All right. Steve, great talking to you.
Thanks.
I appreciate it very much. Beautiful looking guitar, isn't it? Marla, interesting story, and much more can be found between the covers of the Elkhart County Living magazine, and that new magazine is on the stands right now for August and September.
That's correct, and a lot of great new features in there, new information on events that are going on in this area and surrounding Indiana. So now's the time to actually either give us a call or check our website, www.maplecitymedia.com, and you can go on there and take a look at the magazines. You can look at this issue now with Steve in it as well, and then you can also subscribe. It's $12 for a year. It's a bi-monthly magazine, so that's a great price.
Great price and really very easy to get. Again, if you'd like to see a little bit more about Steve, it's the past issue, June, July issue, The Man of the Blues, Steve Harris here in the magazine. Thanks again, Steve, and thank you, Marla. We'll be back with more and fresh when we return, so stay tuned.